Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 action-packed horror movies you gotta see. And with that, let's get to the list. VFW is a 2019 action horror thriller. Directed by Joe Begos, it stars Stephen Lang, William Sadler, and Martin Kove. A typical night for veterans at a VFW hall turns into an all-out battle for survival when a desperate teen runs into the bar, fleeing from a violent gang.
You were a soldier. So are we all. Let's act like it. We set a perimeter. We make our stand.
This movie is so much fun. It has all these different action stars that we've seen from the 80s and 90s growing up. And so to see them, even though they're older now, still kicking some ass is a blast. But this is made by Joe Begos, so it has gore in it, it's gritty, the language is foul, it just feels like an old school action movie just dialed up. But it's violent and full of action, and one that I think you'll definitely enjoy.
You're clearly a special girl!
I don't want to have to hurt you.
But I do want to hurt you real bad.
Becky is a 2020 action horror movie. Directed by Jonathan Milott, it stars Lulu Wilson, Kevin James, and Joel McHale. A teenager's weekend at a lake house with her father takes a turn for the worse when a group of convicts wreak havoc on their lives.
Search continues for 4 inmates who escaped federal custody this morning. Authorities say the men are armed and extremely dangerous.
This movie just blew me away. I did not expect it to go as hard as it does. I mean, this movie really turns it up. It gets super gory, very violent. I mean, the gore is fantastic. It's just a real exciting, fun time. But the biggest thing that surprised me was Kevin James. He is just the best villain in this, and I never would have thought of him as someone that could play a really good villain. But he's evil and creepy and just terrifying in this role. It kind of reminded me of Patrick Stewart in Green Room, where he just is this guy you normally think of as just this friendly, happy kind of character, but then he plays this role that's just super dark and demented, but it really, really works. But Lulu Wilson just is absolutely incredible. I still haven't seen the sequel to this. I've heard it's really good. I got to get around to checking it out. I've just been so swamped with making a lot of videos. I haven't been able to watch as many movies as I normally do. But definitely in the new year, I'm going to get back to watching a ton of horror movies. But it's called The Wrath of Becky, and it's over on Paramount Plus if you want to check it out. Like I said, I plan to very soon. But this movie is funny while being just super turned up with the gore and the violence. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of kind of like a rated R Home Alone. But I think it's a great time that is absolutely worth adding to your list. Saloum is a 2021 Sinhalese horror thriller. Directed by Jean-Luc Herbelat. It stars Jan Gale, Minter Ba, and Roger Sala. The story's about an elite trio of mercenaries who extract a drug dealer and his gold bricks. But they must hide in a small town to escape, only to encounter an evil force that becomes the real threat. This movie's badass. It is full of action and exciting war type of stuff because these mercenaries just kick serious ass. But then probably about 20 minutes in, it starts to take a turn and you start to get these supernatural elements, these evil, creepy elements, and it really just feels like a very different movie going forward. But I think it's a really great mix of exciting action scenes and then some creepy supernatural elements that these guys got to figure out how to beat, how to survive, you know, all that kind of thing. But the cast do a great job. It looks really cool. It's got this real dirty, gritty vibe to it, but it's still well shot and well put together. But the way they do the supernatural things in this are really unique. I'm not going to give it away, but there are some really interesting elements, things that are done in a very different way than what we are used to. It's the thing I love about foreign horror, is there's just a different perspective, a different set of lore, and just a different way and rules, so to speak, of looking at supernatural special effects and things like that. This movie's an absolute banger that very few people talk about, but one that I think you should definitely give a look.
Vengeance is upon us.
The Headhunter is a 2018 fantasy horror movie, co-written, directed, produced, and edited by Jordan Downey, and stars Christopher Rye. A medieval warrior's gruesome collection of heads is only missing one, the monster that killed his daughter years ago. This is such a cool movie. It's very, very small. There is literally one actor in this movie, and he does a great job, but the whole movie itself just looks like some painting or something come to life. It's creepy and fantastical, it's dirty and real feeling, but just the costume designs, the set pieces, all of that, even though it takes place really in just one location, it doesn't ever feel boring or doesn't feel slow because you're always waiting to see what's going to happen next. And this has the least amount of action of any movie on this list, but I do think the battle scene kind of stuff that is in this and the way it's put together still make it worth putting on a list like this. And even though you don't see a lot, when they do give it to you, it gets gruesome and brutal. But it's little tiny projects like this that just make me love horror even more. This is the kind of stuff that I'm such a big fan of, because it's basically one guy who had this vision and he does everything, literally every element of this movie except for acting in it, he did. And I know Jordan Downey is known for his Thanksgiving movies, and they're fun in a real bad movie way. I get the fan base for that, but this is very different. This is actually a quality, well-made movie. And yes, it is a micro budget, but everything that's done in this is really well executed. So honestly, it just couldn't be polar opposites from Thanksgiving. So don't go into this expecting anything Thanksgiving-like whatsoever. But I think this is a real hidden gem that you definitely need to check out. For the Sake of Vicious is a 2020 action horror movie, written and directed by Gabriel Carrier and Rhys Evanson. It stars Laura Burke, Nick Smythe, and Colin Paradin. An overworked nurse returns home to find a maniac hiding out with a bruised and beaten hostage. But when an unexpected wave of violent intruders descend upon her home, it becomes an all-out fight for survival.
They're not gonna let us leave.
This is such an interesting, very entertaining movie. Another one that you never hear anybody talk about. A very small budget indie movie over on Shudder. And like I talk about all the time, there is a ton of hidden gems on Shudder. Movies that really nobody knows about. But this is creative and fun, and the twists and turns that the story takes, it keeps you guessing and trying to figure out what is going to happen next. Because it's one of those movies that every time you kind of get a feel of the style of it or what's going to happen, it'll throw another little twist in there and things will keep taking these turns. And the action scenes are great in this. It's very exciting, really intense, but yet it's still creepy and demented at the same time. And there's some darker humor thrown in this, more situational things that I think were very funny. But if you haven't seen this one, I think you definitely should give it a look.
We are going to finish the job we started.
Upgrade is a 2018 cyberpunk action thriller, written and directed by Lee Winnell. It stars Logan Marshall Green, Betty Gabriel, and Harrison Gilbertson. It follows a technophobe who is implanted with a chip that allows him to control his body after a mugging left him paralyzed.
I call it STEM, a computer chip that has the potential to change everything. It's a new, better brain. Oh my God.
This is such a badass movie. I love everything about this movie. Yeah, it's not really quite horror. It's more horror adjacent. It's definitely a thriller though. And it's done by Lee Winnell, who has definitely done horror movies. You know, he was involved in Saw. He's doing the new Wolfman. He did The Last Invisible Man. Like, he has a track record of doing horror movies. But this, I don't think, goes quite into the horror realm, but there is a lot of creepy elements, some disturbing body horror kind of things. But the action is so amazing in this. It feels very unique and fresh because Logan Marshall Green has to do this performance where he kind of has to move in a strange way because he's not really controlling his body. This implanted chip is controlling his body. So it's almost like his head is doing one thing and his body is doing something totally different. But it's absolutely badass. Really goes for it. Gets super violent, gory, and graphic. And the way the technology is done is just fantastic, especially when you think about what a low budget this movie is done on. It just has this real slick futuristic feel, but only slightly futuristic, like just a little bit ahead of where we are right now. But I think this is a real modern day classic and one that I highly recommend. Hobo with a Shotgun is a 2011 splatter action horror movie. Directed by Jason Eisner, it's based on a faux trailer of the same name featured in the 2007 film Grindhouse. It stars Rutger Hauer, Molly Dunsworth, and Gregory Smith. A homeless vigilante blows away crooked cops, pedophile Santas, and other scumbags with his trusty pump-action shotgun.
You ain't not like me. A hobo with a shotgun.
This movie absolutely goes for it. It's grimy, it's gritty, it's dirty, it's extremely gory, very splatter gore type of style. But it's just so entertaining the entire runtime. It's a very self-aware movie, so it knows exactly what it's trying to do and doesn't try to pretend to be anything other than that. So it's funny and campy, it's goofy, but yet it's violent and absolutely badass at the same time. And it might offend some people because that's the design of it. It's meant to be an over-the-top exploitation old school type of movie. And Rutger Hauer is amazing in this. It's one of his last performances, but he just is brilliant in this. He's so badass, but in this old grimy hobo type of way that's hard to describe until you see it. This movie really is a one of a kind, and I think it's really special. So if that sounds entertaining to you, I think this is an absolute must-see. The Cave is a 2005 action horror movie. Directed by Bruce Hunt, it stars Cole Hauser, Eddie Cibrian, Morris Chestnut, and Lena Headey. Bloodthirsty creatures await a pack of divers who become trapped in an underwater cave network.
We have a few realities to face, people. First, we're a mile under the surface. Second, we're not going out the way we came.
So if you've seen my last couple videos, I've been talking about how I've been going down this rabbit hole, watching all this crazy cave diving stuff and people that are spelunking into these caves, and it's just real world scary stuff. If you watch some of these YouTube videos, I mean, it'll creep you out. Some of the things that these divers do and just how the technology behind it, how reliant on that technology they have to be, and if it fails, how horrible of a situation that is. And recently I talked about The Descent, which is a kind of similar situation to this movie, but in that movie they're cave exploring and not diving, whereas in this one these are underwater divers. This is exactly the kind of stuff I've been watching. But the difference between this and The Descent is this turns it up and becomes a little more campy and action-packed and exciting, but in kind of a you can't really take super serious way. Like, I definitely wouldn't say this movie is scary, whereas like The Descent is. This is more exciting and fun. It has kind of like that old school creature feature vibe to it. A very popcorn kind of creature feature. But the cast is great in this. I mean, they're not gonna win any Academy Awards, but for the type of movie this is, as an action-packed horror movie, I think they do a great job. And the special effects, I think mostly really hold up. Yeah, there's some stuff that does date it a little, but a lot of the underwater scenes and special effects that are done in that way definitely look great. But if you're looking for something to just be entertained by, not take overly serious, I think this is a good time.
going to give you the only thing that I have left. A chance.
Mother Android is a 2021 post-apocalyptic action thriller written and directed by Matt Santomlin. It stars Chloe Grace Moretz, Algie Smith, and Raul Castillo. In a post-apocalyptic world rocked by a violent android uprising, a young pregnant woman and her boyfriend desperately search for safety.
Androids were a part of our everyday life.
Hot chocolate, sir.
And then one night, everything changed.
This is one of those movies that really kind of confuses me because it left me lost as to why more people didn't see what I saw in this movie. I think it's really good. Maybe the audience expected something different than what they got because this is really a drama in a lot of ways. It's very emotionally driven. But for me, Chloe Grace Moretz, this might be my favorite performance from her. I really felt her character, felt the plight and the situation she's in, and the different directions that this goes. It's heartbreaking at times, but also it is super, super intense. And I also thought for a movie that has a lot of CGI, a lot of it is really well done, especially when you consider this was a straight to Hulu movie. But the way the androids look, they look great. They really were intimidating and unique while still feeling like something that could actually exist in the near future. But it's exciting, it's intense, it's nail-biting. There's lots of action scenes. It gets wild, especially towards the end, and definitely kept me on the edge of my seat. But if you like moody, atmospheric, sci-fi thrillers, then I think this is one you definitely should see.
I wouldn't do that if I was you. You'll just end up blowing your damn face off. And then you'll still be depressed. Even more depressed, probably, because of your fucked up face.
Guns Akimbo is a 2019 action comedy thriller written and directed by Jason Lee Howden. It stars Daniel Radcliffe, Samara Weaving, and Ned Dennehy. It's about a video game developer who inadvertently becomes the next participant in a real-life deathmatch that streams online.
Whoa, who are you? Look, this is gonna sound really fucking weird, but can you help me? I have guns bolted to my hands.
This movie is so much fun. I still don't understand why there is not a huge audience for this, and it still is kind of a cult movie in a lot of ways. Because the cast is great, Samara Weaving is just incredible in this, and so is Daniel Radcliffe. They just eat up the scenery in this. They're so entertaining to watch. The premise of it is so unique and entertaining. I mean, he wakes up with guns basically attached to his hands, and he has no other choice but to fight to survive or he will be killed. But it's so colorful and exciting, it looks like a graphic novel come to life. A lot of things that reminded me of The Running Man, but it also has a really unique flavor to it as well. Just the way it's edited is fantastic because you're constantly going from online video screens to real life, and it bounces around in a real unique way with graphics popping up on the screen. It's just so much fun. Like, there's no other way to put it than that. And I wouldn't say this movie is necessarily horror, but it's very horror adjacent because it gets gory and there's some intense scenes, some really wild scenes. But either way, it has my favorite horror actress in Samara Weaving in it. So no matter what, it's close enough to horror for me to cover it. And I think it's a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And I want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or you can become a channel member by clicking on the join button down there and help the channel out that way. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about 10 more horror movies that I think you'll enjoy. And I'll see you guys next time.